Welcome back to One on One with Mr. U. Great. Hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are and however you're listening to our show. As always, our interviews are always insightful and thoughtful, and we hope you provide help and information for those that are watching and listening. And this morning we have famed nutritionist Alana Bonnemann with us today. She has a lot to talk about. Honestly, I'm excited about this one for more than a few reasons, because health and understanding of our health is a big deal for me and my household and people who are close to me, even some of our listeners. So I'm hoping that you get value out of this, whether you're watching it live or you catch it on the replay. If you are watching this on YouTube, please check out youtube.com @ They Call Me Mr. U. You see the live episode there if you can watch it live with us now. And of course, simulcast on all your social media platforms. But good morning, Alana. Well, it's afternoon for you, where you are. Where are you exactly today?
I'm in Germany. I'm coming from Germany. So my afternoon is your morning. But thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, the pleasure's mine. It's been great chatting with you before this, and I'm excited to hear what you're going to share with our listeners. So I'm excited. But we had so many great, insightful conversations. I think one of the things that I really want to have you share about is kind of your story, because you're from Australia, if you want to understand. So I'd love to briefly share your story of your journey from Australia to Germany. As such, it's not. It may not be unusual to make that trip from Australia to Germany. Others have done it before. I've heard of others who have done it, but yeah, it's a beautiful love story attached to yours. I'd love to hear that.
It is an ultimate love story, actually. Yeah, so I'm from Australia originally. And when I was 16 at high school, the German exchange student came to my school, and he was my first boyfriend. And we didn't stay together the whole time, but over the years, I went to Germany traveling. I went to Europe. He came to Australia. And over the years, we stayed in touch. And there was ups and there was downs. And in the end, we decided, when you meet someone and you have the same values and you have the same outlook, this has been, we met in 2002 when we were 16. We decided, okay, let's do this in 2010. And now it's 2024 and we're married with 2 kids and living in Germany. That's the short story of it.
Well, that's a great story, though. I love it. Wow. So, okay, there's a lot I want to get into, so we'll take our time with this and not rush this. I think this is pretty cool. But describe for our audience what you do as a nutritionist and what your goal is.
Yeah, that's it. What is the goal? Why do we do this? So I'm a nutritionist, but I've actually studied naturopathy, which it's kind of an umbrella term for nutrition, also homeopathy, although not really into it, and also herbal medicine. So it's a holistic approach to health. And for me, nutrition, it's more than just eat well and do this. For me, it's the foundation of health. Everyone's eating. We're all doing it several times a day. And it has such a profound effect on how we feel, how we show up, our mood, how well we work, how well we focus, how productive we are, how we feel. And for me, nutrition is, yes, as I said, more than we eat. It's a way in which I envision changing the world. I work with people one-on-one, and if I can make them feel well, if I can get them to their optimal health, then they show up in their lives better. They're friendlier in their workplace or more productive in their workplace. They have better relationships. When they get stuck in a traffic jam, they have kind of a better approach to it because they're just feeling better. So it could be a bit of a ripple effect of kind of making the world a better place, if that doesn't sound, too ambitious.
That's awesome. That's the motto of this show. So that's great. That's awesome. Without having to reveal specifics about any of your clients, what would you say is the biggest health challenge that you've seen and you've helped somebody overcome?
Yeah. So I work with women mostly, and I work with weight management, actually. And it's not because I'm in the weight space, but there's just so many conditions that come down, or like so many conditions that have weight as a side effect. And so a lot of people, they come to see me, they say, I'm carrying weight, I want to lose weight. And when we unpack that a bit, it's not like the weight is just a byproduct. There are many, many things going on: hormonal imbalances, stress, perhaps poor eating, maybe a thyroid condition, maybe PCOS. There's an underlying condition. So we work to kind of unpack what's going on. And by correcting nutrition, by correcting lifestyle, managing stress, and getting to the root cause, we can kind of like the weight becomes then just a byproduct of being health. Like the weight loss becomes a byproduct of being healthy. So that's how I kind of work. And I guess, yeah, to kind of hone in on that, when I work with people, we have set points. Like everyone has a certain set point where they are and how they do things and how they show up in the world. And we will always go back to our set point. So even if you kind of are on a weight loss journey, let's say, and you do all the dieting and you do all the things, if it's not sustainable, you'll just gravitate back to that weight point. So if anyone's tried to lose weight before and just rebounded to exactly where they've been, they're just kind of going back to their natural set point. So I work to kind of change set points in people.
Okay.
And over time, it's not a drastic thing. It's not like lose 10 pounds or 50 pounds, whatever it is, or 5 kilos in a week. It's not like that. It's how can we bring in small habits to make big change? So that's
kind of like avoiding a plateau.
And making it sustainable, making it long term.
I love it. I love it. For all you guys that are listening and watching, first off, thank you for listening to the interview today. I think it's going to be a blessing to you. But also, if you have any questions, by all means, please jump on to our YouTube channel. The live comments are already ready to rock and roll, and you can send your questions in. Ask Alana any questions you have about health and nutrition. I'm sure she's ready to hear from you, and she'd be excited to hear that you're listening to this conversation. So please drop your questions. We'll answer those as soon as they come through. So Alana, tell me, why did you start Health After 30? I'm sure that for every big invention and innovation and project, there's always a reason or a purpose behind it. Why did you start Health After 30?
Right. So Health After 30 is the name of my podcast. And I mean, Health After 30, I feel like it's kind of it's a singles party for after 30s. That's, I feel that name is kind of like that. But for me, Health After 30 was, I got to 30 and I started looking around at my friends, my family. People were getting knee pains. People were getting back pains. People were getting stressed. Cancer started coming to the conversation. Depression, mental health, fitness. I mean, I'm already going gray. This is for me, it's like, this is what happens after we turn 30. And these ideas, mind. These ideas that we had when we were 20, you got to live fast, die young. It just doesn't work. If we don't look after ourselves, if we don't look after ourselves when we're younger, we're kind of going to hit later on in life, and chronic disease might become more of a reality. If we look at our parents and what's going on in their health, we know genetics is a major factor of it, but we also know epigenetics plays a role too. So how can we change our health, and how can we change it as early as possible? So for me, that's kind of where Health After 30, we can't just kind of rely on the old tricks that used to work. We actually need to start, stepping up and looking after ourselves. So that's where it's born.
I love it. We had a lot of candid conversations about what you've been seeing with food making people sick. And, that's something that I've always been a bit of a label turner, but over the years, you start getting like more casual with it. And you don't turn as much, and you don't read through the laundry list of ingredients as much. But I've kind of rebounded and gotten back to the place where I wanted to be, where now I'm reading everything. And if I don't recognize it, and if it feels as though it's something I need to look up, I'll look it up before I even think about purchasing it. But why do you think, personally, from what you've seen in your experience in your business, why do you think the illnesses are a result of the foods that we eat? Why do you think that? What are you seeing?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question, because it's not just what I see in practice. I think it's what we're also seeing in the data. Things are changing, from like the 80s and the 90s. There's just been this rise up in disease and illness. And of course, a lot of it's a lifestyle, but a lot of that comes to our foods. The way in which foods have changed, they've changed to become irresistible now. Food is delicious. It's not just to nourish us. It's become more than that. And so there's not only delicious food out there, but we've also got the food industry working against us that's kind of making money from the foods that we eat. So they want us coming back for the food. Not only that, but we've also got marketing, advertising. No one sees a broccoli advertised ever. you only see, you see the foods they're processed, they're in packages,
I love
and
me some broccoli now. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's my favorite vegetable. I'm not gonna.
but but we've got this happening, and it's happening. It's not only in the States, it's happening in Australia, it's happening in Germany, it's happening all over the world. And so we have what we're eating and the change in the way in which we're eating. Are we even cooking at home, or are we getting takeout? What types of foods are we cooking at home? And then how is that reflecting in our health? So there's this change that's happened in our food industry. But if we look at our lifestyle as well, from the agricultural revolution to, the industrial revolution, and now to the technology age, our lifestyle it's skyrocketing with everything that we can do now. But humans haven't really evolved. Like, we're still pretty much the same as we were, hunter and gatherer. We still need the sunlight from the sky to activate our circadian rhythm. We still need to sleep 8 hours. We still need to do certain things. We need to eat. We need to drink.
We're doing that. But
yeah, exactly. Our lifestyle is it's easy to stay. Yeah, we can just stay on our phone and scroll until 4 a.m. The lights, kind of triggering that sunrise effect. And so there's just a big disconnect. There's a massive, massive disconnect to ourselves, our body, our environment. And I think this is kind of what's making us sick. I want to say one last thing to this. If we take any animal outside of their natural environment, what happens? They get sick.
Absolutely.
And we're animals kind of just evolved. Yeah, we're not as evolved as our environment yet. And so I think that's kind of what's making us sick as well.
That makes sense. I know you've seen a lot in your business and even in your podcast work and the people that you talk to and the stories that they share. What are you personally seeing that's been most alarming? Are you able to share that just in general, if possible?
Well, yeah, I think when it comes to female health, there's a lot of things that go on for us. So not only, so we've got this menstrual cycle that comes once a month. So for women, this might mean they're not getting a cycle, or they can't have a regular cycle, which means if they want to fall pregnant, they can't fall pregnant. And so this has become like an issue for them. And then not only, even if they want to become pregnant or not, we then go through that stage of life, and then we'll come into perimenopause and menopause. Women are like constantly changing through all these hormonal phases. Perimenopause and menopause is kind of like the second adolescence for women. And if we're out of balance, if our body's out of balance, then these transitions, our monthly periods, are not comfortable. Perhaps struggle with pregnancy, and then perimenopause, and then menopause, all of it's quite a struggle. So I think the biggest thing that women are seeing is this constant struggle with their hormones as they try to kind of get through their month. And I think that's pretty disheartening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that are you think that that's related to what they eat or some other factor?
Well, it's not just what they eat. Like I always like to say, it's never just one thing. We need to take a holistic approach to our health, because, we need to eat well, we need to move, we need to manage stress, we need to manage our hormones through doing all of this. And if we're not eating the right food, then it's kind of it can make things worse. So it's definitely something we need to address.
That makes sense. All right, so if you guys that are listening and watching us here on YouTube or wherever you're simulcasting this episode of One-on-One with Mr. U, please drop your questions. Dr. Alana is ready to hear from you and take your questions and share whatever you're comfortable sharing, and perhaps we can offer some advice and some insights on that. So please drop your questions in the chat right where you are there. There's it's funny, we talked about a lot of stuff, but I have some people who are some friends and former associates of mine, and they have some interesting views on health. And there's a perception in some of these circles that vegetables are not needed to be healthy. It's very, very interesting. I know it's not foreign to you, but what do you personally think about that idea that we don't need to have vegetables to be healthy?
Well, I think we need to define health, right? Like, what is healthy? For me, healthy is being mentally alert, being physically active, and also not only on the outside feeling well and looking well, but also internally what's happening. Vegetables play a major role in our gut health. And as a naturopath, like, gut health is kind of the root of everything. If we're not digesting food properly, we can't absorb nutrients. We need nutrients to have strong hair, skin, and nails. We need nutrients for our brains to function. We need nutrients to also for our thyroid. Everything in our body needs nutrients. And we can get it from animal source, but we need vegetables. It is so important in our day. And if anyone were to say to me, we don't need them to be healthy, I would say we do. We definitely do. And, the supplement industry is massive. It says on the back of the packets, do not, you cannot replace a diet with supplements. So for us to be genuinely healthy, we need a diverse range of foods that are not in packages, don't have shelf lives, don't have stabilizers or emulsifiers. We need food as close to nature as possible. And a vegetable is almost as close to nature as possible. So I would fight that to my grave to say vegetables are important.
Yeah. I mean, I personally love my vegetables. I know that there's people who are friends of mine or what have you. They'd be like, "Oh, we don't need that. All we need is just meat." I'm like, "Okay, well, I love meat. I love meat. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. I most definitely do. It's a big part of my day. But as far as the vegetable part goes, I think it helps me out. Yeah, I can take supplements and stuff, but like you said, if you get time to read it, you'll see that it'll probably recommend you don't try to replace it. That's why they call it a supplement because you add it to what you should already be doing. So it makes sense. And you mentioned a lot about listening to your body more. What did that mean in a nutshell for you when you say listen to your body? Because I hear that in circles and commercials or in nutrition circles and stuff. But what does that mean to you to listen to your body?
To your body, what does it mean? I feel like we don't even know what that means anymore because it's so out of it. So what does listening to your body mean? For example, if you get up in the morning and you have a killer headache and you're thinking, oh, I'm not feeling like I can go to work today. This is your body saying, hey, something's up. I don't know what. Maybe you had a bad night's sleep. Maybe you're dehydrated. Maybe you're getting a cold or a flu. Something's going on. I need help. So any kind of pain that you might be experiencing or missed period or condition that you kind of can't beat, your body's telling you something and it's saying, hey, listen to me. And it will usually do it quietly at first. So maybe it's just a dull headache. And if you kind of just take a Panadol and get back to work and, push it down, then it's going to get louder and louder and louder. So you might experience like all of a sudden, you might say, my back is just, it's gone out. And it's not that happened all of a sudden. That's been happening probably for months, and your body's been saying, hey, watch out, things, something's not feeling right. And if we don't address it when we hear these whispers, then it's going to get worse later on in life. So listening to your body means when there is pain or when there is something that's not feeling right, not to just ignore it and soldier on, but to stop and think, what am I doing in my life that's causing me? Can I give you an example of this? Because I have this firsthand. So about a year ago, I had some pretty moving house. A lot of stress was happening in my life, and I was waking up with panic attacks. And I've never had panic attacks in my life.
Wow.
But I was waking up and I was in the middle of my hallway, not sure why I was there, and heart was racing, and I was waking up thinking, what's going on? The next morning, I was groggy. I was so tired, and I didn't know why I was having these panic attacks. And when I really sat back and thought, okay, what's my body trying to tell me? What's my body trying to communicate with me? I had to really be honest with myself about how stressful I thought this situation was. And it was, along with work and kids and moving, the stresses of life, and then, everything else that's going on in the world that you kind of carry on your shoulders. There was a lot going on. So I just made small changes. I would get up in the morning, I would go outside, I'd get the sunlight into my eyes. I started coming home and working on my mindset because I was eating all the right things. I was exercising, I was journaling, but nothing was working. And I had to really address what was stressing me in my life and retell myself a story of how I can start to do things better. And then over time, my sleep got better and things are now back to normal. So I think when you have an experience where your body's kind of yelling at you, we can't ignore it. We do need to we have to dig deeper, and often digging deeper is perhaps, working through some things that we don't even really want to work through.
Sound advice. That really is. It's a great segue to go into my next question. You and I discussed at length about the stress of podcasting. people don't realize how difficult it is to do this. I know that there's some outliers, and I won't label them, but I'll say that there's a lot of people out here who they're sitting in mom's basement and they'll just hit record and they just expect millions of people to listen to what they have to say. It's not really realistic, and sometimes they don't even prepare. Sometimes they don't even shave. They just don't care how they look. They just want to just go and talk and shoot the breeze about whatever the topic is. And if they're doing well, I'm not mad at them, but there's a lot more to it than this. And in doing what you have been doing, there's a lot of emotional stuff that happens. It doesn't always get on camera. We talked about it a little bit, but first off, how's your podcast been going, Health After 30? And what are you learning about yourself in the process through all of this podcasting and stress and stuff? Don't mind with us.
Process, the learning curves, God, they're big, aren't they?
Great, isn't it?
Well, I enjoy it. I think because for me, again, I feel like I've got purpose behind it.
Okay.
And I think that's what you also bring to the world as well. It's like bringing people, like sharing purpose. And I think this is a very big motivating factor. And I think for me, it's also sharing information about holistic health for women. And I think, I don't know, for me, that's just a platform where I can do it. But it is relentless. And a lot of the time, anyone who's also an entrepreneur and is just putting stuff out there, I feel like you put yourself out there and life just kind of slaps you on the face. And over the years, you keep showing up and you keep, staying strong. But now I just go out into the world and I'm expecting to be hit back. Do you know what I mean? And we also talked about this, like you're a sport, you're into sport. And I love that sport it mentally trains you for that. When you're doing exercise and you can't do it and you're like, I can't do another rep or I can't do another sprint, but you push yourself anyway. I feel like being the podcaster, working, even being a parent to some extent, it's just you're constantly pushing yourself mentally. And I think that's perhaps some form of growth. And usually it goes in waves. We talked about this as well. This uninformed optimism. It's like, this is going to be great, to uninformed pessimism, to like, I can't do this, to hit rock bottom, the 99% where you think, I want to quit. And then something happens where you start to learn, you grow, you learn from your experiences, your mistakes. And then you make that upward, okay, I now have informed, optimism. So it's definitely in waves. And I think as long as you have something to share that's worth sharing, then I think you're on the right path. And that's why I kind of stand behind it myself as well. I feel like I've got something to share. So
No, you do. You definitely got something to share. Yeah, that journey it's a real thing for those in the podcast. If you're not familiar with that, you just listen to us. Please understand that those outliers that I was talking about earlier, they're in the minority. There are a lot of people out here, like Dr. Alana and myself and many others that are in my circle. We are fighting for something that matters. We have a reason for what we're doing, and there's a purpose behind it. Like Dr. Alana mentioned earlier about purpose and the importance of it. We got something to say, and like she said, if we have something that's worthwhile sharing, that's what keeps us going, because there's many days where we say, you know what? Why am I doing this? I could be doing so many other things. Why am I not quitting right now? Honestly, I know it doesn't sound very healthy, but I'm going to just be open and transparent. I always am with everything we do on this show or any of our brand of shows. This happens more often than I'd like to admit. I think about cashing it all in. I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm hitting the mark here. Am I making a difference? Am I impacting people? Because it's not just about sports; it's about my coaching and some other things that I do as well. But I'm like, am I making a difference here? But like you said, purpose, it's up and down. So,
and I think if you can impact one person's life, that's I mean, that's kind of it, you know? And you also have to learn from experience, because if you never had started, you know, if you had never had started, they call me Mr. You would never be where you are. We would never even be in this conversation. Only through this action of doing it does it build. And I always like to think, if I can see my life as a movie and I know what's going to happen at the end and it's got a happy ending, like, even though it's hard now, I kind of think, yeah, I don't want to think like I'm just optimistic, but I feel like, you know, if I can see and I know it's going to be a good ending, then I feel like I've also got something to work towards. So that's what I kind of tell myself. Like,
Good.
I'm in the middle of the story. There's ups, there's downs, but it's going to be good. And I'm just going to keep, you know, where energy goes, energy flows. And if I put more work into the things that I love, then that's exactly where more energy is going to come from. So that's kind of my.
That's great. I'm holding on to that one. I like that idea. What was your most challenging moment as a podcaster, if you can share that?
Well, this is my first time going live, so maybe that. No, but I think you know, it's also finding your voice, and also in meeting people. So on the Health After 30, because it's kind of niched with like females' health, I've had conversations with pretty big people. And actually, you're calling me a doctor. I'm not a doctor, just so you know, like naturopath, nutritionist, but I'm not a doctor. But I've had some people on the show who are like big movers and shakers, and I've had like, oh, you know, you get like jittery, some sort of like stardom shock, and it's just, in the end, everyone's just people doing their thing, got something to share. And I think getting through those challenges was actually quite rewarding, I think, in the end.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so now obviously your family knows you're a nutritionist. Yeah. They know what you care about. You try to implement it, I'm sure, into their meals, their breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, and you make sure the bags are packed with good things. I would think. How did your family respond to that? I know that people might think it's automatic, that they don't think about, you know, any kind of pushback, any kind of resistance. But how did your family respond? How did they first respond to your nutritional emphasis, if you will, and how are they responding now? Can you share that?
My family is in like my parents, my extended family.
No, in your house.
The people in my house, the poor people.
Every day, yeah. How are they?
Good question. So, I mean, my partner's known me for quite a long time. So he's kind of been with me through the whole learning process of when I was studying. So he kind of learnt with me. My poor children have just been pushed into my life, you know?
Okay.
And I mean, I have to say, this has been a learning journey for myself, because, you know, when I first had children, I thought, you know what? They don't need to eat sugar. Why does a child need to eat sugar? It doesn't serve them any purpose except for it tastes good and they'll want more. So I just didn't give my first child any sugar until it was around 3. I know. And I was like, you know, we eat healthy, they'll learn to eat healthy. That's not true. He went to his first birthday party. He took every single Smartie off that birthday cake and sat in the corner and shoved them in my mouth. And that was the biggest light bulb moment for me. I realized that something was incredibly wrong. There was a relationship with food that I had done something wrong. And this is actually the biggest. Since then I've done a lot of learning about this, about how to teach children how to eat. And that's actually it's the same for adults as well. It's not about the broccoli. It's not about the vegetables. It's about the habits that we have. Yeah. Our relationship with food, how we choose to eat it, what we choose to eat, but it's not about having a strict diet. There's all foods out there. You're going to go to the shopping center, you're going to go to the shops, and it's packed with food. And, you know, we can't deprive ourselves from potato chips or ice cream. It's delicious. We love it. We celebrate that kind of stuff.
You don't understand.
And a lot of people think healthy is like, I'm never eating any sugar and I'm not eating, and I'm just eating vegetables and meat, and that's all I'm doing. But that's not. We need to be able to enjoy life. We need to be able to have birthday cake. We need to be able to come home, have a glass of wine, eat a tub of ice cream for dinner if we want to do that.
That's a lot.
It is. But it's the habits that we have. We don't want to do that every day. And so we need to find out, okay, how often are we doing these things? Why are we doing these things? Are we having a stress day coming home and just wanting to sit on the couch and binge? It's not the food's fault. It's not the food's problem. It's that we can't adapt with our daily stresses. So we need to kind of address what's going on, because the food will kind of always be there. But yeah, and that's what I learned mostly with the kids as well, is I could feed them all the healthy foods, but they're going to go out and be 16 at some stage. They're going to have their own money. And if they don't understand how to have things in moderation and in proportion, then I feel like I wouldn't have done a good job. So a lot of my practice actually has switched. I don't do any restrictions. So I help people without restrictions. I don't restrict sugar. Drink coffee, we drink alcohol. We need to learn how to have good habits. That's in essence what it is.
Wow. People are going to be following you after this episode. They're going to be like, wow, I don't know how to do this. This is really interesting. I love this.
It takes time. It takes time.
I love this. If you have any questions, of course, please drop in the live chat. We'd love to hear from you and let Alana answer those questions for you. Now, you mentioned something that a father said to you a while back, and I love the idea. I've heard it before in different iterations, but your father talked about health is wealth. Explain to me what that meant then and what that means to you today, that health is wealth. That's
such a nice question. What did it mean then? As I was a child, so my dad's a chiropractor. He kind of brought us up in his idea of health, health, chiropractic health, and everything was kind of health related. And he would always say health is wealth. And as a kid, a healthy little kid, you're like, what does that even mean? I was like, you're an old man. What do you know? So as a kid, that didn't really mean anything. But he just really drilled it into us over the years. And now I've realized, as I get older, as we all hit past 30 and the knee starts to hurt and, conditions start to pop up, that if we get to the end of our days, imagine yourself, Yusuf, like if you're 80, would you what kind of 80-year-old or 90-year-old or 100-year-old do you want to be? The type that's mentally active still, that can move around, or just the type that's in a vegetated state? What would you prefer to have, all the money and be in a vegetated state, or perhaps not all the money that you had ever wanted, but physically fit and mentally still fit? What would you prefer? So I think for what he tried to really hone in was wealth isn't just monetary. Like our health is what's going to carry us through. And so long as you're healthy, you are able to do the whole monetary game because you can, So I think for him, that's what he was trying to really hone in, I guess. I never really thought about that, but I think that's what he was.
And now that you have some years of experience under your belt, what does it mean to you now? What's health and wealth mean like to you personally?
For me, it means not being hard on myself if I'm not ideally healthy. This is, again, the no restrictions. It's about enjoying life. But I think at the focus of my life, I put my health first. So if I, for example, I love to binge watch Netflix, sure, but I know that doing that all the time, it doesn't serve me. It makes me tired. It makes me groggy. And actually in the daytime, if I'm hooked on a series, I will often think about the storyline in the day. It consumes my day. And just as an example, when I don't watch a lot of TV, that brain power, I can use it for creative things. I am not tired in the morning, so I get up feeling energized. So I have the actual effort, the energy to have the effort to go outside. And so it has a cascading effect. So I try to make lifestyle choices or lifestyle decisions that are going to positively impact my health, because now, I'm 38, things aren't bad. Things aren't, I'm fine. I'm okay. But is it going to stay like that? I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just trying to, I guess, align with what's healthy in a relaxed way as well. I'm not one of those people who are really on, there's a guy in the States, I can't remember his name, but he's trying to reverse his aging. He's sleeping, he's taking all these things, and he's I don't know, 40 and cellular. He's the age of an 18-year-old. And I don't know. That's not life for me. We need a bit of a balance.
I like the science, but
it's not life.
I don't want to play God in that regard. But so you're from Australia, and now for me, just being honest, that it's not I don't think I'm closed-minded or anything, but for me, growing up, Australia, all I could think about was Crocodile Dundee. That's all that I knew about Australia. Now it's evolved a little bit. Now we got what's the guy's name? He passed away recently, but
Steve Owen.
I think his daughter's name is Bindi. But
yeah, that's his daughter.
Yeah, that's my full understanding of Australia. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know they have rainforests there, right?
Rainforests?
Yeah, in Australia. Okay, so I know a little bit about Australia, more than what I thought. But for you, what's your favorite food from Australia? That's the one that you sorely miss. Like I have to have it when I go back. What's that food?
So that's a really good question. I'm going to answer that in a very long-winded way because you know how you said you think about Crocodile Dundee or Steve Owen. I think when a lot of people think about Australians, they might also think about the beach and perhaps like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed surfer. I'm like you can see, like I'm not blonde hair or blue-eyed. My mum's Chinese, my dad's Scottish, and like Australia it's kind of like America. It's a mixing pot. Like of course we've got these blonde hair and blue-eyed, you know, the British colonizers, but we've got Serbians, Italians, we've got Chinese, Japanese, Koreans. It's such a intense mixing pot there. Indians, all types of, like we have everyone there. So when you say like Australia, like we're a young country, we're 270 years old. We have barbecues. I think maybe that's what people would think of the traditional Australian meal. That, you know, the saying, chuck another shrimp on the barbie. Like we don't call them shrimp, we call them prawns.
In popular culture, so
yeah. But I think so. I don't. Yeah, when I think of going home to eat, I think of Japanese food, Chinese food, Italian food. I don't think of Australian food.
Okay.
When I'm going home, when I go home, the first thing that I would grab, because Australians are very snobby in this, they love their coffee. They're coffee snobs. And if you go to a cafe, they've got all different types of this, that, and the other. Like, yeah. So for me, just going home and getting a very nice cup of barista coffee, soy latte is my first thing.
There's a specific brand of coffee that you're talking about?
No, I think just the way in which it's made. Sorry, when I say straight, like I'm not the coffee snob, but I enjoy the snobbery of it because it means I get a good coffee from it.
I respect that. I don't think I'm a snob either, but I'm very particular about what I like. So
exactly.
What you will. All right, so you're in Germany now, and you're adopting the culture there. We'll get a little bit more into the culture in a moment. But favorite food in Germany? I told you on a conversation I was a chef at one time, and in my training, my learning, I learned world culture. So I made different foods. It was really hard for me to find something from Germany that I enjoy making in my education. What's your favorite food from Germany? Because you've been there for a little bit now. You have to eat what they have.
Yeah.
So what have you found that is your favorite now?
So things that I never really thought of. Okay, so this is going to sound bizarre, but a potato in Australia tastes very different to a potato here. Like potato. Yeah, I can't. Maybe it's the starch, or maybe it's the way that they're grown. But the potatoes here, if they're cooked, like they're like gold nugget. They're delicious. They're so
nuggets. This is okay. A potato.
They're just it's delicious. It's delicious. I find the German meals to be quite heavy, saucy. If you think of a German food, it's like potato with perhaps meat, like a meaty and like a saucy meat, and then red cabbage or something. And yeah, I mean, this is okay every now and then, but I don't eat it too often because I find it quite heavy, to be honest.
That makes sense. But the potatoes you like, though, that's your favorite?
Good. I mean, I can't just say, but yeah, I do love potatoes. I have to say, I do, and also like sauerkraut. So sauerkraut, from a health point of view, you know, it's good for the gut microbiome, and that's just something that's naturally found here because they have cabbage, and they have so much cabbage. They try to eat seasonal here, and they ferment it, and it's also really delicious.
I grew up having those on my hot dogs, so I'm very, very partial to the kraut. So I totally get that. Could you share what a typical meal is in a German household? Can you share what that looks like?
Okay, so you know, in America, do you guys have hot dinners?
Of course.
Yeah, they don't do that here.
Now wait. Wait a minute. No, how are you eating the food? It's cold. It's room temperature. What's happening?
They call it Abendbrot. It's like evening bread. It's like if you go to a German household, so they have hot lunches. They'll have people go home for lunch. Well, they used to. It's not so much anymore. But people used to go home. Schools finish at 1 p.m. here. The kids would go home and eat lunch, and then the day would be over. And so it's very natural for them to have warm lunches here. And then at dinner, they have bread with cheese, liverwurst, perhaps some vegetables as well, sauerkraut. Yeah, it's
Is that
that's normal. That's
personal, but is that happening in your household? Is that what you're doing? Have you adopted that?
Depends who's cooking. Depends who's on dinner duty, right? So I would never.
What you do? What are you doing? What's Olaf doing? I want to know.
So Olaf would probably put together an Abendbrot because it's easy at the end of the day. It's just an easy, simple thing to do. It's also
what's that he's putting together? What's that called?
Abendbrot. So the evening bread.
Oh, okay.
On the other hand, I don't know. I'm a bit because I am working with nutrition every day. The first thing I'm thinking about when I'm putting a meal together is, okay, how am I going to make this nutritious? So I have certain cuisines I like. Just having a Chinese mom, of course, I like a bit more of the Chinese stuff. But I'm a bit of a throw together person. What do we have in the house, and how can I throw it together to make a nutritious meal? Yeah, that's. So I can run you through it if you like.
I want you to give me just one example.
Okay. Well, so for example, if you think of this as a plate, if that's your plate,
yeah,
I'm looking for like this much as a protein. So let's say
that's what I do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, great. So maybe I
want to know what's on the plate.
Yeah, exactly. So protein. So let's just say chicken. Last night it was roasted chicken, and then I want to have half the plate of vegetables. That's like, so this is half the plate. So this is as colorful as possible. We can have beetroots, we can have carrots, depending on the year, because it's quite seasonal. If you eat seasonal, it's fresh and you have a high nutrient count. It can also be salads, half the plate. And then up here on that side, that would be your starchy, so your potatoes, or perhaps your grain or your bread or pasta, whatever it is. So yeah, for example, last night it was chicken with carrots and salad, and then potatoes, and that's a meal. And I had planned that. I didn't really throw that together, but that would be a meal.
That tastes like golden nuggets. I gotta dig down into this.
Send you some over.
I like potatoes. I gotta watch out with that. I understand that, but
yeah,
nuggets, when that happens, I think I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Golden nuggets. Well, I better keep moving on.
You need to think like seasonally, like when they're freshly picked, and like just they haven't been stored for a long time. They're fresh out of the earth and cooked, butter and salt.
Roasted. This is not a good idea for me this time in the morning to talk about. This is not good. But let's keep on moving though. But I want to ask you a question. If you were not in the nutrition field, we talked about this a little bit, and I always ask the question to my guests: if you were not in the field that you're in, if you were not doing Health After 30 as a podcast, and you were not doing nutrition, what would you be doing?
Hands down, carpentry. It's
blows my mind every time I hear you say that. I bring it down for it. Why carpenter? Of all the things that you probably could be a wizard at doing, why? How did we get there?
The satisfaction. It's like creating something and using what you created. I find that there's just like a certain satisfaction to that.
Wow,
to be able to make something and then use it. I just, like if you needed a photo frame, I'm just gonna put one together, and then you have, or I want to put shelves up. You can just create that. There's a certain satisfaction of creation, and it's more than just art. Like if you were to draw a drawing, it's beautiful. You can hang it somewhere, but I feel like when it's functional, it's just got that. And also wood's just beautiful. I don't know, like the texture of it.
At first I thought it was interesting and not really weird, but my wife's creative, and we both creators, but she's creative in that way that you're describing. She would make those kind of projects, and she'll do that, and she'll have fun with it, and she'll enjoy it. She'll look, I'm looking, okay, cool, that's great. That's not my kind of. I'm more in the writing, creating musical.
I was gonna say, yeah, creating music.
I'm not. I want to put a bike together. I want to put a cabinet together. I don't want to do any of that.
It's tough. Yeah, maybe it's the hand, maybe it's the physicalness of it. Because the things that you suggested then, like writing, making music, that's also creation, but it's using the mental capacity.
Yeah, and sometimes when they send you the cabinets, the instructions are not good, so that really bothers me.
I know.
This is not helpful.
If we buy something from IKEA, my partner is also like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, let me get in there.
Oh, I know you got nasty. I understand it about you now. So this is really awesome. This is really awesome. Explain for us really quickly a day in the life of your business and what you do. Tell me what a day looks like for you from start to finish. How would that, if you can explain that?
Yeah. So you're probably the same. Like it's a lot of different moving parts in a business. So I see people one-on-one, like I see clients one-on-one. I create a podcast. I'm trying to be social I'm trying to be active on social media. There's as well as the business side of it. So also I send out newsletters to people. I do treatment notes. There's just so many, creating what the business is as well, working on myself and my mindset. So the average day, I can't tell you exactly what happens in the average day, but my day is broken up into 3 parts.
Okay.
But we've got the like 12 hours, 6 to 6, let's say.
Okay. Okay.
I wake up, kids, school, done.
Right.
I'm home, and from like say 9 to lunch, this is my creative time.
Okay.
I realize that if I get up and check my emails in the morning, it just drains me. I put like all my energy into communicating with people, and then I'm done. And then after lunch, I just feel completely depleted. So I take the morning time to do creative. So perhaps I'm creating ideas for the podcast, or perhaps I'm creating content for Instagram, or perhaps I'm creating how my business is going to go. And this can also sometimes be also my client notes as well. So putting energy into creating a treatment protocol for my clients. Then it's lunchtime. And then after that, that's all the email stuff. That's the getting back to people, organizing appointments, stuff like that. And then school pickup, get the kids, and usually it's a hectic afternoon. And then in the evening, that's my learning time. So I'll often read before I go to bed. And yeah, it's just so I can kind of structure my day, because if I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing today? Then I check emails, and then I listen to a podcast because I want to learn something. And then I feel like I have to plan content, and it just gets a bit too much. So I have these 3 blocks now, and I dedicate time into these 3 blocks.
Okay. And where are your appointments in this block of time when you have appointments? Is that after lunch?
No. So right now, for example, our appointment is 1 o'clock, a social appointment. And I also catch up with my friends socially, usually after lunch as well. But no, if I'm with clients, I'll do it in the morning, because that's also, it's a very engaging, intense process to work with someone and try and go through their whole health history. So I like to do it when I'm alert and on. So it usually be the morning as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. This is really good. I really enjoy you doing this, and thank you, everybody that's listening and watching us. This is pretty awesome. Okay, I have one more question. Well, I have a question each about where you are now and where you came from. We had a great conversation about Germany. You mentioned the horrible history. Honestly, it's really hard to shake it when you mention Germany. Certain images come to mind, a perception of the country as a whole, if you will. But how would you explain the culture and the current state of affairs to somebody who may be curious, who may be listening right now, who thinks something about Germany that they may not actually know? I will share the story with you about my little sister. When she found out that I was moving to South Carolina, her perception of South Carolina was immediately people with straw hats and people riding around on tractors. She was thinking of all those things. Nothing like that at all. This is it's actually a city here.
Yeah, there's cars.
Yeah, there's cars. The cars on the road, not tractors. The horses don't ride on the road. It's not 1809. You know what I'm saying? But they, she thought that. But when people think about Germany, they may have a perception about what Germany is like. What's the current state of affairs there? What's the culture like there? Kind of share that real quickly with us if you can.
I would love, what's your idea of Germany? I'd love to hear, what.
I don't have the image that I had before. I read. I follow up on world affairs, so I don't think about Nazi Germany anymore. I used to, and when I hear German, like, oh, it's automatically that. Even when I was in culinary school, I was making the food. I'm like, okay, I didn't have that perception. I kind of got past it as much as you can get past it, because it's not a very nice history. But you know, for me, I'm just thinking about people who are maybe a bit buttoned up.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people who are maybe really organized, really smart and intelligent, and really inventive and hands-on. I don't know what they're working towards or anything, but that's just how I view them. But I don't know.
No, absolutely. Like, I love how you said very what word you said just then? No, but no, yeah, I mean button up, but like also just very what word did you say this? And I just missed it. You said a particular word of like they're very organized. I think that's what you said. They're so organized. Oh my gosh. It all works because it's organized. And you know, I think when people think about Germany, they think, and also because of what we see on TV, the Germans are always the baddies. They're not, you know, and of course, like the history, the Nazis were the baddies, like don't get me wrong. But still in TVs, you'll see the German, like it's never like a friendly German. Like he's never the quarterback. Like German comes and he's always the stern one or the evil one or and so I think we still have the idea of that. And you know, they're rule followers, and they do follow rules, and I think that's probably why it happened. I think in any country, having, you know, Hitler, for example, fascist authoritarian, that like any population can probably be molded to think a certain way. I think for Germany at the time, they had just got out of the First World, like this terrible things had happened and they needed to kind of unify, and they kind of came together and they got in the wrong situation. And then the Holocaust and the Second World War. So like it all kind of was a really bad outcome for them. And I think they still carry a lot of trauma. They have inherited trauma. So
wow, that's interesting.
That was happening already, you know, 50 years ago, 80 years ago, I think, with the Holocaust. And people in my generation, like they're shamed. You know, I remember when Olaf came to Australia, they were kind of joking about like Heil Hitler and stuff like that. And the Australians joke about it, but for Olaf, he was like, oh my gosh, what are these people like?
Dramatic.
You can't say that. You can't do that. And so, and it's still, there's a lot of, inherited trauma, and they still carry a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. And so, but at the same time, they're very aware. So at the moment, just with the political situation, there's a lot of, they would call it like a neo-Nazi party kind of rising, because there's a lot of immigrants. Angela Merkel led in, there's almost from Syria and then from Ukraine. We've had almost, I think, 1 million people added to the population.
Oh, wow.
There's like a neo-Nazi party kind of rising. And a lot of the Germans are now saying, hey, that's not okay. That party's not okay, depending on what side. So it's just, there's a lot of turbulence happening here right now, because a lot of
I didn't know that.
Okay. I think past trauma with like new things that are happening. I don't know really where I stand on it all, and I don't want to bring too many politics into it, but it's, there's
fine.
But if you strip all of that away, and I think the reason that I'm living in Germany still now is because the people are organized, and it's great to be organized. I've got my holidays for 2026 planned. Like, what? I would never do that. No.
I am not there.
I am not there either, but my partner, a holiday planner, he's like,
I am not there whatsoever. Okay.
It's just very planned and very organized and very structured, and I kind of like that. And in the darkness of winter, because it gets dark here in the winter, and it's cold and it's depressing, and they just go from being not so friendly to even less friendly. And Olaf always says to me, you know, in the darkest winters, that's where the best philosophers and poets and scientists were created. So that's also what Germans give.
I guess I'll talk to you next spring.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're happy.
But they're also like, there's a nice analogy. They say that Germans are like watermelons and Australians or Americans are like peaches. So Australians and Americans, we're quite, soft on the out. We're very, it's very easy to have conversation with us. We're very sweet. But to really really get to know someone and be able to really tap into really how they're feeling, it's quite hard. I don't know. That's what we say about Australians. Whereas with Germans, they're quite hard on the outside. But if you get through, they're completely sweet and they're lovely people. But they have a hard outside.
Okay. Well, next to last question is going to be about Australia. You shared some feelings with me in our pre-production meeting about your perception that no one cares about Australia. Made me kind of sad. I'm like, okay, why do you feel that way? Why do you think nobody cares about Australia?
Is that what I said? No one cares about
that. And I carried it with me since that conversation. I'm like, man, I care. I'm not doing anything, but I mean, I don't not care about Australia. I mean, so why do you, from your perception, why do you think that it's like that?
Well, I mean, I think Australia is at the end of the world, right? Like, no one really cares about our economy or our political system.
Oh man,
do you know what I mean? I think your political, the last election, that was everywhere. That in Australia, it was on the news. It's not even our politics, and of course, it affects the world, but everyone's hearing about it. Like,
are you guys kind of independent? Is that what you mean? You're not attached with anybody. You kind of separate.
Well, we're a colony of we're still in the Commonwealth, so we're still a colony of Great Britain. So, but I just feel like we're just kind of at the end of nowhere. And then I feel in Australia, people are very happy. They're just very happy, very content, and
independent and.
Physically, they're kind of, geographically, they're independent. But I think, there are certain things, like there's a mine, because there's a lot of mining, a lot of coal mining in Australia. And I think there's something like a mine the size of Texas in the middle of Australia. And no one, like a massive mine. And it's in the middle of Australia and no one really talks about it.
I haven't heard about it at all.
Haven't heard exactly. Or, as I said, like the Great Barrier Reef, which was, one of the 7 wonders of the world, it's dead. And, we want to build ports there and harbors there. And it's just, I just wish that perhaps, and maybe from living in Germany, they're very politically active here. They stand up for what they believe and they put their foot down. And I think this is because of how they've been burnt in the past. And I just wish that perhaps Australians were a bit more like that. They kind of stood up perhaps a bit more for what they want.
This is not my question. I have one more question for you, but because of what you said, and I have another question. But I have a comment. Perhaps you should think about writing a book about Australia.
What Australians can learn from Germans?
No, I'm just talking about Australia, period. What's going on, what people don't know about. It would be enlightening, because I didn't know about 2 of the things you mentioned. I know about the Barrier Reef, but I didn't know that they were essentially dead, like you said. And the coal mine, I had no idea. So there's a lot. It's not like it comes on the local news out here.
Well, no, I mean, our news isn't really globally either. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot going on. That's just scratching the surface of what.
I know it is. You're not going to have those kind of conversations offline. I have to hit you with some text and hear more about Australia. As a matter of fact, I'm very interested. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to stay up about that and give more insight from you, because I may not be able to use it, but just for my own understanding, because I didn't know that was going on. So I'll do that. But last question for you. And then we'll go ahead and let everybody know where they can find your work and your podcast and everything. But if you can give advice to somebody who has heard about those fad diets and quick fixes and other counterfeit options about how to be healthy and whole, what kind of advice do you give them that if they're listening right now?
Yeah. I feel like that's a question that needs to be talked about more often, because everyone wants to be on a diet to get healthy. Diets don't work. If diets worked, the dieting industry wouldn't be a thing. So we need to think, and especially if weight is the goal for going on a diet, which sometimes it is, 95% of people who go on a diet will rebound back to their original. So we know it doesn't work. Yeah. So the question is, what does work? How can we get healthy? How can we feel well? and it's the boring stuff. It's so not sexy.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're sleeping well. We need to make sure that we're moving. We need to make sure that, it's okay to eat all the foods, but we just need to think about moderation, how much we're eating of them, proportion, what's our 80 and what's our 20, and our variety. How much different foods are we eating? These are all three important factors. And then we need to just care about, when we think about our overall health, how's our mental health? Like, how are we going? How do we check in with ourselves?
Yeah.
How are we feeling? I might be feeling physically well, but emotionally, am I feeling okay? Is that my body trying to tell me something, perhaps? So it's really hard to just be like, don't diet, and then what to do, because it's actually, it's a process. And there's so many things out there telling you this is the right thing, that's the right thing, go drink this smoothie, take this supplement. Strip all that away. Yeah. Everything you need is exactly yourself. You have to think of yourself as a seed, right? A seed knows how to grow. If you put it in the ground and give it water in the right environment, an oak will grow an acorn will grow into an oak tree. Your body, your health is the same. It knows how to thrive. It knows how to be well. It just needs to be put in the right environment. So
that's really good. Well, thank you so much for enlightening our audience and sharing a bit of your story and your experience from Australia and Germany. We've all learned a lot. I know I did. Thank you for sharing with us. And if you can, let everybody know where they can find your work, whether it be your business and your podcast. And also, as a matter of fact, after you do that, when we go off air, in the comments section under the episode on our YouTube channel, share all your information there, because sometimes it gets lost in translation during a live episode. But can you share all, your website, whatever information you have, resources you have, put them in the comment section so that everybody who's listening can go and find it very easily. But let everybody know where they can find your work and your podcast and your business.
Yeah, guys, I've got free resources on my website. So for exactly what you were asking for then, like how do we do it? How do we get started? Check out the resources, alanabonnemann.com. I'll put it in the notes. Health After 30 is the podcast, and naturopath.alana is the Instagram account. I just realized.
You're on Apple Podcasts, right?
Different. I need to streamline those, I think.
Okay. You're on Apple Podcasts, right?
Yeah, Apple Podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. This has been fantastic. I can't wait to hear more from you and what you're doing. Maybe if you are going to write a book, that'd be awesome. You can have you talk about it here.
About Australia. Right, about Australia.
I mean, you got a lot to share that people are not hearing about. So I say that's valuable.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening wherever you are and have you listening to Becoming Mr. You in this one-on-one episode. Thank you again for listening and for making us part of your week. Thanks for supporting Alana in her journey with the Health After 30 and her business. If you have nutritional health questions, reach out to her. Thank you again for the opportunity to chat with you today. And it's awesome. And we're out of here. Have a great day. Enjoy your week. Stay healthy.